A space shuttle is essentially a canister of air, one that keeps 6 astronauts safe from the relentless vacuum of space just beyond their windows. Meanwhile, planet Earth itself is essentially a large, water-covered rock with a thin atmosphere, home to 6 billion people who rely on that slender layer of air to shield them from the same unforgiving void. For 11 days, the crew of the Space Shuttle Endeavour is enthralled by the spectacular view of our oasis in space. This 6-member team is about to embark on the 97th shuttle flight since the first liftoff in 1981, carrying a top-tier radar experiment that will generate 3-dimensional images of Earth's terrain, far more accurate than any we've seen before. Right now, says one mission controller, our launch time is set for 12:43 p.m. and 40 seconds. Ever wonder what it feels like to blast into orbit? Fewer than 500 people know, and among that select group, fewer than 200 have ever stepped outside the relative safety of a spacecraft. At T-6 minutes 26 seconds, the orbiter test conductor grants pilot Dom Gorey permission to carry out the final steps. 6 astronauts, strapped into Endeavour, are about to experience what so few in history have: leaving Earth for the vastness of space. Your mind races, says one veteran astronaut. 15 months of training come flooding in. I have this checklist card in front of me for every possible emergency, especially anything involving bailout procedures. I run through it in my head. Some tension lingers that anything could go wrong before T-0. You're definitely aware you're sitting atop 6 million pounds of fuel, the astronaut adds. And if you aren't aware, you're not that bright. Each moment that the countdown clock doesn't halt feels like a small victory. Once the final hold at T-9 minutes is cleared, that's it. You are going to space. Danger is a known passenger. In 1967, 3 Apollo 1 astronauts died in a cockpit flash fire during a practice countdown. Then, on January 28, 1986, all 7 aboard Challenger lost their lives when the shuttle broke apart 73 seconds post-liftoff. In 2003, Columbia disintegrated during re-entry, claiming another 7. Yet faith and trust remain crucial. I trust the people who designed and maintain the shuttle, and I trust my crewmates, one commander says. We've trained together so long we're like family. At T-3 minutes or so, all systems are still go. At T-20 seconds, hearts pound. At T-6 seconds, the shuttle's 3 main engines ignite, roaring to life. Then, the solid rocket boosters, SRBs, kick in, unleashing 6 million pounds of thrust. When the engines fire, it's just a massive vibration, an astronaut recalls. This is the moment. I'm going into orbit. Booster ignition and liftoff of Space Shuttle Endeavour on a 21st century mission, mapping Earth back onto the charts. Immediately, the vibrations intensify. The vehicle rattles. You feel it right through your seat, says another astronaut. And I typically find myself laughing out loud, this bizarre, joyous giggle, because it's so overwhelming. As the shuttle soars, rising from the pad at over 100 miles per hour in seconds, G-forces steadily mount. At about a minute into flight, the astronauts experience up to 3 times normal gravity, pressing them into their seats. It's hard to draw breath. Finally, in just 8.5 minutes, the SRBs and main engines do their job. We call it MECO, main engine cutoff, says one astronaut. One instant, you're crushed under 3 Gs. The next, everything's weightless. You can't help but grin, someone recounts. Your arms float up, your checklist floats off your kneeboard, and you think, we made it. Almost instantly, The crew begins stowing launch gear and preparing to work. The space shuttle might be a can of air, but it's also the most complex machine ever built. Over 2 million parts, nearly 15,000 circuit breakers, more than 1,000 plumbing valves, miles of wiring, and main engines generating power beyond that of nearly 40 diesel locomotive engines combined. Inside, the shuttle feels smaller than one might expect. The living area's about the size of a modest kitchen if you ignore the fact that in microgravity, the walls and ceiling become part of your usable space. Claustrophobic, maybe for some, but I never felt enclosed. Outside those windows is the biggest frontier you'll ever see. During their mission, the crew must remain on task. An 11-day timetable is tight, yet it's impossible not to gaze at Earth. It's a humbling sight, a swirl of blues and whites, swirling clouds, storms, deserts, cities. It all fits beneath you. In orbit at 17,500 miles per hour, they circle Earth every 90 minutes. Day and night happen 16 times daily. The blue marble looks simultaneously massive and fragile. You realize there's no second chance if we foul this planet up, says one. Endeavour's job, capturing Earth's topography in 3D with 2 radar antennas, one on the shuttle, one on a 60-meter mast, scanning as the orbiter sweeps overhead. Speed is everything. 100,000 square kilometers, about 38,000 SQ miles, mapped each minute. They must be precise, holding an altitude of around 145 miles. We're basically making the best 3D map of Earth humans have ever had, explains the mission commander. The crew works in 2 shifts, ensuring continuous data collection. Meals float in midair, sleeping bags attached to walls or ceilings. There's no up or down except what each astronaut decides for convenience. Downtime is scarce, but occasionally they play with weightlessness, perhaps a floating water blob or a tossed that refuses to arc down. On Earth, throwing a ball means gravity arcs it. In space, you must literally push it straight, one says. It's goofy fun. This is the 14th journey for Endeavour, the first shuttle flight of the 21st century. Many astronauts find they become more environmentally conscious upon seeing Earth's vulnerability. You can tell we're deforesting vast areas. Rivers are muddy with topsoil wash-off. It's stark and sobering. From up here, no borders, just one planet. After 10 days of non-stop mapping, Endeavour completes 121 million square kilometers of radar sweeps, 30 times more precise than prior data. One astronaut calls it the biggest contribution of my life to humanity's understanding of Earth. For the crew, this mission is more than a job. You see our home world, at once enormous and fragile. Conflicts and borders vanish from orbit. You realize we humans share this extraordinary place, this watery rock with a slender air envelope, like a shuttle's can of air in the harsh vacuum. Reminders of tragedy remain. Apollo 1, Challenger, Columbia. Danger is inseparable from spaceflight. Still, each new mission reaffirms what's possible through cooperation, commitment, and daring. Astronauts often come back changed. Some find a deeper faith. Some feel heartbreak over Earth's conflicts. But we all gain a greater sense of wonder and responsibility. And that's the real power of seeing Earth from space, recognizing how precious, how unique our planet truly is, and how vital it is to protect it. At the end of day, the astronauts return with advanced data and photos. But no photograph or video can truly replicate the experience of being there, floating in zero gravity, holding onto a window rim, staring at Earth's horizon ablaze with sunrise. It's something you carry inside for the rest of your life, they say, and you want everyone on Earth to feel it too.